After nearly a decade of fundraising, what started as an idea from a 7-year-old boy's imagination is becoming a reality. That little boy was Max Moore, and he dreamed of playing in a treehouse, but he used a wheelchair, and his parents had started work on building a special treehouse for their son and other children with disabilities. But sadly, Max died. But the treehouse in his memory lives on. And joining us today are two of the people who are working to make sure that Max's dream and this project comes true. And Max Moore's mom is here, Dr. Heidi Moore, a pediatrician in Plattsburgh. We appreciate you being here, also along with Ashley Cousins and Kevin Farrington, the city engineer for the city of Plattsburgh. Welcome to you all. So where does the project stand? Are we almost to the point where we're ready to break ground?
It's really exciting. I've been fundraising on the project for about 3 years, and we are just about to the point where we're ready to build. So probably next month we'll begin building. We have a contractor on board who's ready to start and has been looking over the plans and making sure we have all our materials lists and everything that we need. So we're very close to building now.
And this is going to be a gazebo. It's going to look like a gazebo with a long ramp right on the banks of the Saranac River, right at the end of the Saranac River Trail in downtown Plattsburgh, just behind the Plattsburgh Police Station.
Correct.
And but it is going to overlook the Saranac River. It's going to be a really nice location.
Definitely.
And the gazebo will be accessible to everyone, universally accessible.
Yeah, the special ramp that will come out actually right from the Saranac Street Bridge, from that embankment, I guess, will go right out to the set of 3 poplar trees that will hold up the rest of the structure. And that ramp will make it accessible to everyone in our community, regardless of age or ability, which is why it's such a special project.
The thought was that this would be a great location to have something like this right at the end of this recreation and walking trail.
Yeah, exactly. And actually the trail will be expanding, which is great. So that won't always be the end of the trail, but it will be a nice headlining feature of the trail at that location.
And Kevin, how much work has gone into the planning of this to make sure that it not only looks nice and is a treehouse, but is, you know, there must be a lot of planning that goes with this as well.
Yeah, it's a good question, Tom. It definitely takes a lot of planning. You know, we started out with a concept design from Forever Young Treehouses organization over in Vermont, who does some really terrific work all over the country. And they helped us prepare a concept design initially. We've advanced it through actual engineered plan drawings, received a building permit for it, and all those types of things. So there's a fair amount of work that goes into this to make sure that it meets all of the building code standards and so forth.
So much like the fun driving, the construction will be done mostly by volunteers as well.
This has been a grassroots volunteer effort, and the construction will be no different. Okay. We have suppliers who have stepped up and donated certain materials, either for free or at cost, and we've had people who have raised money, donated money, and we have some local contractors who are really enthusiastic about participating in the opportunity to, you know, just do something, just to give back to the community, improve the quality of life. I should mention Dave Davis, who is spearheading the effort right now, and him and some of his friends. And Dave's got a long history of donating his services to all sorts of city and sports functions and recreation functions. He's built baseball diamonds and dugouts at the park and all sorts of things. And this is one more thing for Dave. And so we're really thrilled to have him. He's a knowledgeable builder and contractor, and so he's come on board, and some other contractors. So that's basically the plan.
How's it for you folks to see what was Max's dream actually becoming a reality now?
Well, and so my husband and I have been just thrilled to watch this team sort of take over. Max was very developmentally delayed, so it may be that we projected our dream into him as far as what would we expect him to want. Well, it was interesting to be a parent of someone in a wheelchair, because you realize all of a sudden all the limitations of where you can go. Even if it's trying to get up on a sidewalk that doesn't have a curb that goes from the street to the sidewalk. And it wasn't long before we thought, oh, our little boy would want to be in a tree house. And so at that point we started looking at universally accessible tree houses. And it just, not long, maybe a couple years after we started looking at that, Max's health really deteriorated, got much worse. And frankly, I lost the energy and I wasn't able to sort of push through and continue with that project at the time. And then Ashley came along, Ashley and Zumbathon buddy came along and rejuvenated things. And then Kevin called and asked one day if they minded if we used Max's name on the treehouse. And of course, I was like sobbing on the phone, like, oh, of course, that's great. So, and I have done very little since then besides just be their cheerleader and say, you're doing a great job and I'll support you however I can. So, so after the initial parts of it, I've really just stepped back and tried to support all of these other great people who've taken it and run with it.
It must be special to you and your husband to have it named in your son's honor.
It's absolutely unbelievable. And we have two little girls now too, they're 6 and 8. And so they talk about Max's Treehouse. And so it's incredibly special.
And you will certainly be able to appreciate what it will mean to other families with children with disabilities to have a treehouse like this.
That's
that
right.
they'll be able to go in and
That's
access.
right. So my profession certainly allows me to see a lot of other patients in the community that sure would like to be in a treehouse too.
And you can probably imagine for kids, this will be something really cool to have along the river in downtown Plattsburgh.
Yes, and I just hope it's going to be a jumping off point for us, for the community, for recreation, for trying to make sure that our ability to be active is not dependent on what our physical abilities are. You know, we all have the right to be active and outside and outdoors.
And this will be a component of the bigger Saranac River Trail, which you mentioned, Ashley, is about 3 miles.
Well, you're familiar with the trail, Tom, but it starts behind the high school, goes through the college property, follows Stelzer Avenue along the river, crosses South Catherine by Stewart's there, and comes down Pine Street, and then it terminates, as Ashley mentioned, at about the Saranac Street Bridge right there, which will be the location for the treehouse. And so, one of the things that the Saranac River Trail Committee identified was the need and the benefit for having sort of trailhead destinations to go to, because it's fun to jump on the trail, by yourself or your friend or with your family, and say, hey, let's walk or bike or rollerblade to whatever it is. In this case, the treehouse. It gives you some place to go, and it gives you a special marker on the trail. And then, right now we're actually in design for an extension of that trail. So we're going to cross the bridge and go along what people think of as a nice egg cleanup site, and then put in a new pedestrian bridge at the foot of Durkee Street, which will get you actually right to the downtown business district. And in this new section, or this new phase, also includes what we call the middle school connector. So we will continue behind the police station and make a safe pedestrian crossing to the middle school. So now you're connecting the high school, the middle school, the college, and the downtown business district, and of course the Max Moore Treehouse would be right sort of at the heart of that.
And is that part of the idea behind this, is to unite the downtown, to make it easy for people to get around the downtown by foot to various parts, the downtown area, the beginning of the trail, the Max Moore Treehouse, and then maybe hop on the Saranac River Trail and follow it wherever they want to go?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. Walkability of a community is a really big part of what makes a livable community. And more people are realizing that now. So, there's the health benefits, the economic benefits, and the quality of life benefits. And, we talk about the Max Moore Treehouse, and we talk about the Saranac River Trail, and what we're really talking about is a lot of people who all share the understanding that there's a quality of life issue that makes a community feel like a home and makes it feel livable and enjoyable, like people want to be here. And what you see from all the volunteers is you see a lot of people who just are, like Ashley, I'll brag for her a little bit because she won't brag herself. She spends a lot of her time and energy and for what? She wants to make the community a better, nicer place to live. Not just for herself, but for other people. In this case, for handicapped people, handicapped children. And if you look at all the members of the Saranac River Trail Committee, and there's literally hundreds who have participated, I have to applaud them too, because these are people who really are giving of their own time and money and effort and energy for no other reason except to make the community a nicer place to live. And that's what the Saranac River Trail does. Everybody agrees through and through. That's what the Max Moore Memorial Treehouse will do, and that's what this project is really about. For me as a public servant and an employee of the city, it's very enjoyable and gratifying to see so much outpouring of the community. As part of my job responsibilities to be involved with this, but when I see all these other people who give so freely of themselves, it's very humbling for me to be a part of that and be able to witness all of that going on, and that's what I think is really what's happening with these projects.
If you look at the Clinton County Health Department, a lot of this ties into what their overall community plan is as far as built environments. And the city of Plattsburgh has just taken the lead in setting a really good example for what does it mean to create built environments for healthy activities. So this is the example, the Saranac River Trail, and connecting different bike trails and pedestrian walkways. It's also things like complete streets and all of that. So this ties in with a much larger community health picture. So it's one small piece, but it's an important one.
So not only the treehouse in your son's memory, but it must do your heart good to see planning like this where it's going to encourage people to get out, kids, adults, all ages, to get out and exercise and walk.
Absolutely. And in a way that is accessible for everyone. So if Max were still alive, I could take him from the treehouse down 3 miles of paved or very hard, easy to use a wheelchair. On these trails, and it would be easy to do.
Work gets underway this spring as soon as everything thaws. How long will it take with the volunteers to get it up and to get it open?
Well, we don't think it'll take too terribly long. I think we're talking weeks or a couple of months.
Really?
Is all
Dave
it should
thinks-
take.
So maybe by this summer?
I think by this summer for sure, yeah. Dave, once he's able to get started, he's really excited about the project, which is awesome. It's so great to have his support and, of course, his friends that he has already been sort of talking to and seeing if they will help. And he thinks probably within a couple of months. If they were able to start as early as April 15th, which I don't know that Mother Nature's going to allow that early of a date, but he was looking at maybe having it done sometime in June. So I'm, a couple of months, I would say, as long as everything continues to go according to plan. So
you'll see some activity down there soon. We actually use the trees, and we have these specialty tree anchors that will be driving through the trees, and then we'll have some site preparation and foundation work, and then we'll bring it up out of the ground and put the framing in, and so you'll start to see that activity, and then all of the woodwork and the framing and the roofing and so forth will continue. But you should start to see some activity, like Ashley said, about mid-April.
we're actually hoping to do a groundbreaking on May 2nd, just for, to kind of announce to the community, hey, we're starting, and to get that support and just to let everybody know that it's becoming a reality, because it's really exciting and we want to share that excitement with everybody. So hopefully May 2nd we'll be having a groundbreaking event.
You've had multiple Zumbathons, road races, 5K races, other fundraisers. You've raised about $60,000, and you're pretty close to what you think you'll need now to cover the project. You may be looking for a little more in donations to help beyond this, but you must feel good about where you are and the goal you've reached?
The project originally was estimated at $100,000. We have really been able to cut the cost of the treehouse down a lot because we were able to get donations from community members. There's been a lot of donated time, a lot of donated money from lots of organizations and from individuals in the community and outside of the community, friends and family of people who are either on our committee or know about the project. So we've gotten a lot of things donated, and that original estimated number included all of the labor and materials that the treehouse guys over in Vermont were going to do if they, got the contract. If we contracted with them, I should say.
So if they were hired to build it?
Yes, to build it, paying all of their guys and everything. With having Dave on board, and he has said, I'm doing this because I want to, kind of thing. So I was anticipating having to, at least pay someone something, and I'm not sure that will actually happen. I think we might have the labor donated, and if we get the materials at cost, then we're really talking about a much smaller number than we were initially.
Obviously, you've had a lot of groups within the community, volunteers, but also groups coming together as well that have made this a reality.
Absolutely, yeah, we've had a lot of help. Sunrise Rotary has probably been our biggest sponsor and supporter. With their Mayor's Cup celebration, the last 3 years running, they've made rather large donations to the project. So all told, they've donated about $24,000 of what we've raised, which is very significant. We would not be where we were without them. And some other, large donations that we received. Steve Carpenter with the Liquor and Wine Warehouse donated about $5,000 last year, which was really helpful. And the mayor, of course, has donated $500 to this point. And he told me he's really excited about the project and can't wait for it to be done. So we've had some really good, really big donations from different groups. And of course, just as important are the donations of time, which has been so many people. I couldn't list them right now, but we will on opening day. So
one of my favorite donations was a little girl who on her birthday, she and her parents asked that instead of bringing gifts, make a small donation to a charity or project of her choosing. And so I think she turned 5.
She did.
And chose the Treehouse Project. And so, and then when she contributed, I don't remember the exact amount, but I know that when somebody else heard about that, she said, well, if a group of 5-year-olds can contribute that many dollars, then I'll match it. So there's a lot of stories like that.
Yeah, in fact, that's the reason that I sort of became the champion of this project, is because that little girl donated $150. And I'm sorry, in college, $150 was a lot of money to me. So at 5, that's kind of a big amount. And I just felt like if 5-year-olds in our community care about this project, like, I want her to be able to play in that treehouse. So that's totally where my heart was for that's why I became so involved and took it as far as I did.
You are still raising money. You're
Yes.
using a website, the Red Basket campaign,
Yes.
to continue to raise money.
Yes, Woodmen of the World reached out to us last year in June and said, we want to help. We have this website, and it's kind of like Kickstarter or GoFundMe or any of those crowdsourcing kinds of fundraising sites, except that there are no fees. So every dollar that somebody donates through Red Basket comes directly to our project without being, charged any sort of percentage or fee by the site, which is amazing because sometimes people don't want to give to sites because they don't want, they want all their money to go to the project. So that's the great feature about Red Basket. Plus, it goes out, Woodmen of the World has helped by sending it out to all of their membership nationwide, and that website is, obviously public, and we've been sharing it. So yeah, we are trying to raise the last bit of money that we anticipate needing, but we did go over our costs, and we're in good shape to start building. We could use that little extra boost, which is why we're keeping the Red Basket campaign open.
And once it's up and open, will it be staffed by volunteers, staffed by City Rec Department? Who will staff? Will there be a staff to either oversee the treehouse or work there or maintain it?
That's a good question. The city will take maintenance responsibility, and it is important too that we have some remaining fund for maintenance. There could be vandalism, or problems that happen, and like any other asset, it's something that you've got an investment there and you want to maintain it and keep it safe, and so we're prepared to do that.
And after so many years of fundraising now, to have it to this point where you're this close
Right.
to breaking ground, how's that feel?
Well, it feels amazing. I mean, we've all worked really hard. I've had such an awesome team right from the beginning with, people from the city like Kevin and Steve Peters, and, Heidi's been on our team since the beginning, and we've had folks from the ARC and from Sunrise Rotary and from other organizations, and just, people that are concerned citizens just wanting to participate in this because it's a fun project. So we've had a great team the whole way, and it's sort of morphed and changed as our needs changed and whatnot. And throughout the year, sometimes people are working really hard on something, and then we don't see them for a couple months, but then they're back for the next thing. So it's been really great. But it's amazing. We all feel, I think, really excited that it's about to come to reality, and soon we'll be able to walk in the treehouse and just enjoy it. So.
And you think it will really enhance the city of Plattsburgh and the downtown to have something like this? Absolutely.
I mean, I never had a child in a wheelchair, and I've never had to get around in a wheelchair myself. I'm very fortunate that way. But we've been raising a lot of awareness through all of this, which I think is really important, because there are a lot of places that people need to go in the city, and it's difficult for them because, there are stairs that don't have ramps, or there are curbs that don't have, the ramp entryway, and this is different. This is a fun project. There's enough places that people try to get to that are difficult, that they need to go every day, and this is, somewhere they might just want to go because it's fun and beautiful, and they could feel like a kid. So it's exciting.
With respect to handicapped accessibility, I think that this will hopefully serve as a model to raise awareness. It in itself is just one fairly simple structure, but a lot of times we hear, we don't always appreciate. I know myself. It's hard to appreciate what it is like from the perspective of a handicapped individual, whether that be somebody in a wheelchair, blind, hearing impairment, whatever the handicap may be. And I think that we hear from various handicapped people and different advocacy groups around the community, but it's sometimes difficult for us to understand what it's like to do something simple like get down a sidewalk in the winter when there's snow and ice, or maybe there isn't a curb cut and a handicap accessible ramp, and you're in a wheelchair. And this is a project that I hope will bring awareness to the perspective of what it's like for a handicapped person to try to do a simple thing. In this case, be in a tree. It sounds so simple. As kids, we've all been in a tree, but somebody in a wheelchair really can't unless we provide this. And it also shows that we can. If we try, we can. And and I hope that this maybe serves as a buoy too for different handicapped individuals and groups to see that people do care, and the city cares, the community cares, and people try to understand and to make an effort to make things better and to bring all of the people in the community into the fold, and so those types of things. So I hope that serves in that capacity that this project does.
And as you look into the future and you expand into downtown Plattsburgh, the bridges that are built, the trails will all be designed with people with disabilities in mind, so that, as Dr. Moore said, that people will be able to walk, sections of the entire trail. They'll be able to go from Max's Treehouse to the downtown, and they won't have to worry about the curbs and some of the other problems that they've had in the past. So it will be designed in the future for folks with disabilities so that they can freely move throughout the downtown.
Absolutely.
This whole project has served as a model for how projects might get done in the future. So some really energetic, really neat people with different talents coming together from multiple different organizations. So if you look at Rotary, you look at different small businesses, you look at the town, you look at the health department, lots of different organizations were able to come together for a project, and I think potentially it has a model for us in the future as we look at other things we might want in our community.
And proof that you can take a child's imagination, a child's idea, and actually turn it
That's right.
into reality with a lot of people working together.
Right.
Dr. Heidi Moore, thank you very much for being here with us. Ashley Cousins and also Kevin Farrington, thanks for taking the time to come in.
Thank you,
Thanks so
Tom.
much.